An ordinary elevator ride turns electric when Ashley finds herself trapped in close quarters with her impossibly handsome and enigmatic boss, Ryan Carter. His piercing gaze, commanding presence, and teasing words ignite a tension she can't ignore. As the elevator stalls, their professional masks begin to slip. Accidental touches become charged moments, intimate questions unveil buried desires, and Ashley must confront feelings she's tried to bury. Will their unexpected isolation lead to a professional disaster or something far more dangerous and thrilling? Welcome to Silent Confessions. Let's start with today's story of tension, desire, and choices that could change everything. The elevator door slid open with a metallic chime, and Ashley marched inside. Her laptop bag clutched tightly to her chest like a shield against the relentless pressure of another day at Vision Corp. Countless meetings, exhaustive reports. Her life was a blur of responsibilities as she climbed the corporate ladder. With a soft sigh, she pressed the button for the 25th floor, allowing herself a fleeting moment to breathe. Before the doors could close, a hand, firm and unapologetic, slid through the gap. A deep, commanding voice followed. "Hold up." Ashley's breath faltered as Ryan Carter, her boss, stepped inside. His presence filled the small space, a blend of authority and something undeniably magnetic. His tailored navy suit accentuated his athletic frame, while the subtle scent of wood and citrus wrapped around her senses like a velvet ribbon. "Good morning, Mr. Carter," she murmured, shifting to the side instinctively. Her voice was steady, but her heartbeat wasn't. "Morning, Ashley." His lips curved into a faint smile, the kind that didn't give much away. He reached out to press the button for the 30th floor, though it was already lit. The elevator sealed them inside, the rest of the bustling world shut out. Ashley looked down at her bag, counting beats to steady herself, but she could feel his eyes on her. His gaze, sharp, piercing, wasn't just passing, it lingered, almost as though he was uncovering something within her she wasn't ready to admit. "Are you ready for the presentation today?" His voice broke the silence, low and smooth. "Yes, of course," Ashley replied quickly, her words more confident than her thoughts. "Good." The weight of his approval or judgment hung in the air, and the silence that followed was almost deafening. Out of nowhere, the elevator jolted sharply, coming to a grinding halt between the 23rd and 24th floors. Ashley's eyes widened as the lights flickered before steadying again. "No, no, no," she whispered in mounting panic, pounding the emergency button. Ryan, unfazed, leaned back against the wall, his arms crossing casually over his broad chest. "Relax. Looks like we're stuck," he said, his tone tinged with something teasing yet grounding. The confined space seemed smaller by the second, suffocating in its intimacy. Ashley's focus shifted to the unyielding control panel, though she was acutely aware of Ryan, how close he was, how his presence seemed to curl around her. Shrugging off his suit jacket, Ryan revealed the crisp white shirt beneath, its fabric taut against the muscles of his arms. The ease of his movement drew Ashley's attention involuntarily, her breath hitching at the sight. "Maybe this is a good time to relax," he said softly, his voice deepening with something unsaid, something felt. "It's not like we're going anywhere just yet." Whether it was the confined space or his tone, Ashley's heart raced faster than she could contain. She tried to laugh it off. Relax? Easier said than done. Ryan's eyes found hers, holding them like a lifeline. That's the thing, though. It's always easier when you just let go. The moment stretched thin, and then Ryan leaned closer, his gaze steady and cool like a flame that burned slow but intense. "Ashley, there's something I've been meaning to ask you," he began, his voice dipping lower, each word teasing the fragile stillness between them. "And now feels like the perfect time." Her pulse quickened. "Ask me what?" "Are you happy here?" The question seemed so out of place yet struck her deeply. It wasn't the kind of thing bosses usually asked. "Yes," she replied, but the hesitation in her voice betrayed her. He tilted his head almost imperceptibly, like he was weighing her words. "Really?" The single word carried an edge of disbelief that unsettled her. She fumbled for an answer, her voice more defensive than she intended. "It's demanding, sure, but I like it. It's fulfilling." Ryan's lips twitched. Not quite a smile, but not dismissive either. Then why do I see you staring out the window some mornings, looking like you'd rather be anywhere else?" The revelation caught her off guard. He noticed that. "I'm just thinking," she said softly, her fingers nervously fiddling with the strap of her bag. "About what?" His voice wasn't pushy, but it demanded truth. Ashley swallowed hard. "About where I belong, I guess." Their eyes locked again, his piercing blues reaching into her in a way that felt too intimate. Just then, the elevator shuddered again, making her stumble. Ryan's hand shot out, steadying her by the elbow. The space between them evaporated. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. His hand lingered, the roughness of his palm brushing against the fabric of her blazer. The intimacy of the touch sent warmth rippling through her. Ashley nodded, speechless, save for the rush of her heartbeat. Neither moved for a moment, the air between them electric. When Ryan finally withdrew his hand, it left her feeling a mix of relief and longing she didn't quite understand. "I didn't mean to cross any lines," he said, his voice threaded with sincerity and something deeper. "You didn't," she replied quickly, though the tension had already curled itself tightly around them both. Ryan leaned back against the wall, his cool expression softening slightly. "I like talking to you, Ashley," he remarked, the words floating in the small space like a confession. "You do?" Her voice was quieter than she intended, almost fragile. "It doesn't happen often," he admitted, his tone quieter now too, "but with you, it feels different. It feels natural." Ashley's breath caught again, and this time, she wasn't even sure why. "Thank you," she managed to whisper. The weight of his words pressed against her chest, making her feel noticed, not as an employee, but as a person. Ryan smiled faintly but stepped closer. The air was thick now, filled with words unspoken but understood. "Can I ask you something else? Honestly?" "Yes," she answered, though the anticipation was a humming presence in her veins. "What do you think of me?" It wasn't an innocent question. It wasn't one that could be sugar-coated or casually answered. Ashley blinked, searching for composure she no longer had. "I think you're a brilliant boss," she said cautiously. Ryan's chuckle was low, a sound that sent a shiver down her spine. "That's a fine answer. Professional. Safe." He stepped closer again, now just a whisper of space between them. His gaze bore into hers, flicking between her eyes and lips. "But that's not what I meant." Ashley felt her pulse hammering in her throat as the elevator around them felt smaller still. She could feel the heat radiating off him, his intensity pulling her into a moment she wasn't sure she was ready to face. "Tell me the truth, Ashley," he murmured, his voice dropping to an intimate rasp. "What do you really think of me?" Her cheeks blushed deeply, her body betraying the response she refused to voice. The words sat at the back of her throat, balancing between restraint and reckless truth. She started, but her voice faltered as he leaned slightly forward, so close now that her thoughts drowned in the magnetism of his presence. "Say it," he whispered, his lips ghosting words that hovered in the thin air between them. The moment was charged beyond her control, and for the first time, Ashley considered stepping past the boundary that tethered her to safety. How? She didn't know if there was a way to go back after. Ryan's hand shifted, brushing her arm gently but deliberately, keeping the question alive, unanswered, hanging like a promise, waiting to unravel. As the elevator lights flickered once again, their moment was interrupted by a beep, signaling its return to motion. Ryan stepped back, his face unreadable for a flicker of a second. The charged intimacy dissolved into the silence of reality. Yet Ashley knew some boundaries had already broken, if only in her mind, for now. Ryan's small but knowing smile lingered as the elevator resumed its climb. For her, though their feet felt grounded on metal flooring, there remained the unmistakable sensation of being suspended somewhere entirely new. Ashley thought she knew where she stood, but moments like these blur the lines between right and wrong. What would you have done? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Silent Confessions for more stories that explore the hidden desires we rarely speak of. Join our community and never miss a new confession. Hit the notification bell. Until next time, stay curious.